There we are. Okay. Thank you for being here. This is a great opportunity for me to practice the course by trusting in the spirit to guide me this evening. And before I came on, I had a little flutter in my tummy, few nerves, and I thought, oh, what's that about? But that's okay. And I think it shows I'm still alive, so that's a good thing. So before we go into the talk, I just wanted to offer a little prayer, which is one of my favorite prayers from the course, and I call it the healer's prayer. And I pretty much use this before seeing any clients or even a telephone conversation with somebody. And I know a few of you have heard it before, but I just find it really helps for me to let go. So if you want to close your eyes, you can. If not, just do whatever you need to do. And then we'll go into just a few minutes of relaxation after that as well, just so we can all tune in together. Oh, and I have a cat next to me, so you may have a few little voices coming as well. It's my little friend I'm looking after. Okay. I am here only to be truly helpful. I am here to represent him who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do, because he who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever he wishes, knowing he goes there with me. I will be healed as I let him teach me to heal. So let's just take a few minutes so we can join together. And if you feel you'd like to close your eyes, if you haven't already, and if you don't want to, that's fine as well. So let's just take a few breaths together. And on each out breath, just allow your physical body to soften and to relax. With each out breath, just softening, melting into the now. Let your belly become soft and receptive to the breath. And then just allow your jaw area to relax. Just letting go of any tension in that area. Just noticing if you may be clenching around your jaw area. Just let it melt away. And allow your mouth to just gently soften. Just a gentle opening around the mouth, just very soft. And even inside your mouth, just feel your tongue resting on the bottom palate. Nothing to do right now. Nothing to say. And then allowing your eyes to sink deep within your skull. So your vision can come within. And even the brain inside your skull, that can even just rest, relax back into the skull. And we can just allow our whole being to soften and now drop down into our heart space. And just saying hello to your beautiful heart right now. Sometimes we forget to acknowledge the power and the beauty within our heart. And so today, as we open our heart and our mind to the beautiful teachings of A Course in Miracles, whether you're completely new to the course, whether you've been studying it before, let's just come with an empty mind, a blank canvas, so we can be a happy learner, which is one of the things the course asks us to do. So we can be open and receptive to the love and the message behind the course. And let's be prepared for miracles. What would that be like? To live every single day in the miraculous, in joy, in love, in peace, in trust, in serenity. And this is what the course offers us. So just for now, just for this very second, this instant, just feel the magnitude and the vastness and the power of now. And each one of us here is joined in that one mind, in that one prayer. So we can allow our hearts to join with each person here, whether we know them or not, it doesn't matter. The intention is there. And know that there is a vast, eternal love holding this space, guiding us home, if we are but willing. And so just taking another beautiful breath. You just prepare yourself to open your eyes when you're ready. Great. Okay, I have my little friend right next to me, Mr. P. He obviously wants to be in on the Course in Miracles as well. So if you hear any funny noises, that's him. And he's lying on all my paperwork and the course. So it'll be an interesting evening. So there'll be an opportunity later for some Q&A. So if there's anything particular, that I'm sharing that you think, oh, I'd like to know a bit more about that, or you think, what the hell is she talking about? That is just does not make sense. If you feel some fear coming up, some judgments, when you hear some of the things I'm going to share, because it's very common. The course can be very triggering if we're very new to the course. Can I just have a show of hands who actually knows of the course, or who's even Jane? Yeah, and I know Cindy does, Sean and Tanya. Oh, fabulous. I know Cindy does. Absolutely. I know Jane. Brilliant. So there's some of you, you're already well along the road with the course. Some of you are completely new, but it doesn't really matter, because I think for me that this course is every day is new for me, I can tell you. So just be really aware of your own thoughts as things are being shared. And if anybody else does share and ask questions, it's so good to just observe your own mind, because the ego will always be kind of watching its back and thinking, what's he saying? What's she saying? So just allow them to be present and don't push them down, but just notice them. I think it's really good if you want to make notes of anything that may come up for you. As I say, because it's very common, because some of the concepts of the course are not what we're used to. That's for sure. So I'd like to just start at the very beginning, which apparently is a very good place to begin. And it's quite a hefty book for some of you who don't know the course. This is well used. And it's not a book that you read through and then it's finished. No, it's a lifetime. It's a lifetime. And what I found over the years for me is, and it's been in my life for probably about 16 years, is that every time I read it, it's like I've never read it. And every time, there's a depth, you go further and further. So I'm just going to read a little bit from the beginning, and it says how it came. And I think, it's, even if you're aware of the course, I think it's really lovely just to hear this again, because it was really good for me to refresh my mind. So A Course in Miracles began with the sudden decision of two people to join in a common goal. Their names were Helen Schuckman and William Thetford, professors of medical psychology at Columbia University in New York. It does not matter who they were, except that the story shows that with God, all things are possible. They were anything but spiritual. Their relationship with each other was difficult and often strained. And they were concerned with personal and professional acceptance and status. In general, they had considerable investment in the values of the world. Their lives were hardly in accord with anything that the course advocates. Helen, the one who received the material, describes herself as so: psychologist, educator, conservative in theory, and atheistic in belief. I was working in a prestigious and highly academic setting, and then something happened that triggered a chain of events I could never have predicted. The head of my department unexpectedly announced that he was tired of the angry and aggressive feelings our attitude reflected, and concluded that there must be another way. As if on cue, I agreed to help him find it. apparently this course is the other way. Although their intention was serious, they had great difficulty in starting out on their joint venture. But they had given the Holy Spirit the little willingness that, as the course itself was so emphasizing again and again, is sufficient to enable him to use any situation for his purpose and provide it with his power to continue. So this is where it started with these two academics back in the early 70s, claiming very clearly they were not spiritual at all, but they wanted another way. And then Helen started to hear a voice. And I'll just go on to that next little bit just to give you a little bit more information about that. So 3 months preceded the actual writing, during which time Bill suggested that I write down the highly symbolic dreams and descriptions of the strange images that were coming to me. Although I had grown more accustomed to the unexpected by that time, I was still very surprised when I wrote, "This is a course in miracles." That was my introduction to the voice. It made no sound, but seemed to be giving me a kind of rapid inner dictation, which I took down in shorthand. The writing was never automatic. It could be interrupted at any time and later picked up again. It made me very uncomfortable, but it never seriously occurred to me to stop. It seemed to be a special assignment I had somehow, somewhere agreed to complete. It represented a truly collaborative venture between Bill and myself, and much of its significance, I am sure, lies in that. I would take down what the voice said and read it to him the next day, and he typed it from my dictation. So this is where it started with these two guys, and it went on, I think, for 7 years or so. And the voice, you know, that Helen talked about, I've heard interviews with her, and she says anybody can hear that voice. She wasn't special. And it really is, you know, that prayer really that went out of saying, I want another way, is then how it started to come in. And so basically what came in is a text, and then there are 365 lessons, so one for each day of the year. And then there's also a section called A Manual for Teachers. And as I say, the whole of this book is a lifetime, I believe. And it's very radical. When I first came across it, as I say, about 18 years ago, I was sort of going through a spiritual awakening. I was going through a divorce, and I had a lot of questions in my life. I was in a lot of emotional pain. I lived in a lot of fear most of my life, although I didn't realize that. I thought that was normal. And I was looking for another way myself. And I'd been on quite a journey already. I'd done a lot of education, as it were, in holistic stuff. I did a lot of training, holistic therapies, hypnotherapy, NLP, you name it. And then I got to the point when I realized that I'd been going outwards, trying to fix everyone. And then it dawned on me, shit, I've got to go in. And that was not a perspective that I thought, you know, I wasn't particularly appealing, shall we say. But But I realized that that was the only way I could really start to change my life. And then through a series of events, you know, when we ask, it is always given, I can assure you. And things that come may not always be as we would have expected. And that's certainly what happened to me over many years, where different things, different teachers, different books, they all started to come in. And then I met a lady who changed my life. I know a couple of you know her, Sarah Cox. And I was on my knees by this point. And it was a miracle how she came in my life, there's no doubt. And she was starting up a psychic development group, meditation group, where I was living in Stenning. And I could have never have known what would have happened the day I walked through her door. My life, the whole direction of my life changed. And I know any of you who know her know the same thing. She's pretty incredible. She helps people wake up. So by this point, I went along, and she was working a lot with angels. And even back then, that was a bit of a stretch for me. But I thought, oh, well, you know, let's give it a go. And because I couldn't say the word God then, I would have a visceral reaction to the God word. So I didn't want anyone on the God vibe. But unbeknown to me, I didn't know at the time, but later came to know that she was actually training to be an interfaith minister, a minister for God. And I thought, oh, well, that's okay. She can do all of that stuff. I don't want to know anything about that. So I started going regularly every single week to her classes, and my life changed because the love I was feeling in those sessions, I had never experienced before. It just was incredible. And I thought, I don't know what's going on here, but it feels good. And in a couple of my meditations, I literally experienced bliss for the first time. And I thought, oh my God, I want more of this. And I was living my life really. I had one foot, this is what I said the very first day I met her. I said, I've got one foot in my spiritual life, and I've got one foot in normal life, family, still had a husband then, kids, etc., etc. And I said, I have no idea how to bring them together, because I just didn't know how to do that at that time. So little by little, as I attended her course, her lessons, she started to bring in little bits about the Course in Miracles. And she started to say things like, oh, you're the light of the world. And I thought, what are you talking about? What does that mean? And she was basically the person that introduced me to the course. And I wasn't ready to start with. It just felt too big. But at some point, I think just before my husband and I split up, I bought the book, and I read maybe a few sentences, and I thought, I don't understand this. And I just put it on the side for probably about a year. And then the divorce came. I'm not blaming the course for that. It was on the cards. But the course will change your life. And whether you realize it or not, there's a profound energy that is in the course. And then going through a divorce, I really wanted to understand what love was, because I thought I knew what love was. And I had quite a few sessions with Sarah. And I remember one day when I was in a particularly low place, I don't know what I said to her, but I said something like, I just don't know what to do. And I was furious. And she looked at me and she said, no, you don't. And she said, you do not perceive your own best interests. And I sort of went, what? And I said, well, who the hell does then? And I was so angry with her, telling me I didn't know my own best interests. Now that's a line from the course. And I just stared at her, because my whole concept of my whole life had been, I know best. I know how to do things. I know how to run my life. And so there she is telling me, I do not perceive my own best interest, or at least that was a quote from the Course. And I really was furious, because I just thought, well, who the hell does? And then she went on to say a little bit more, that it's spirit, it's God that knows my own best interests. And I can assure you, I wasn't having any of it. I thought, no, that's a load of rubbish. No, thanks. I don't get that. You can have the Course. But little by little, I started to dip into it. And she also, at that point, was starting to explain some of the concepts of the Course about what the Course calls special relationships and holy relationships. And again, I had no concept of what that meant at all. I just thought relationships were relationships. I had a lot to learn. And when she started to explain to me what a special relationship was, I just said to her, well, sorry if you're of a nervous disposition, but I just said to her, well, I'm fucked then. Because I don't know anyone that doesn't have a special relationship. And I didn't at that time. The relationships I saw, I thought these normal relationships were how relationships were. But the Course looks at them very, very differently. And it's one of the big concepts of the Course about most of us in the world have these special relationships where we make that person special, our everything. And the Course is saying we're either all special or none of us are special, because we're all equal. Everyone is the same. Everyone is loved by God. Everyone is a child of God. And, you know, that was quite a big concept for me then, because certainly that's not what I'd seen in the world. And so I said to myself, okay, if this is true, I want to see this. I want to see relationships that are healthy, and that the Course was talking about these holy relationships, because I hadn't witnessed any to that point. And again, ask and it is always given. So over the years of my own awakening, I started to witness these healthy, holy relationships, which were based on not trying to get anything from the other person, not making that person special, with radical honesty and transparency, and not dependent on the other person for your joy and for your happiness, because no one can truly give you that. That's part of the concept of the Course. Now, this is not what most of us are brought up with. Let's be honest. So that is one of the big concepts of the Course, is that seek not outside of yourself, because most of us are seeking outside for our joy, for our happiness, for our fulfillment in another person, in a job, in our friendships, in getting material things, etc., etc. And the Course is very much about, one of the lessons is, and it's one of my favorite lessons, is we are sustained by the love of God. Now that's pretty radical. Now, most of us weren't taught that, were we? Well, I certainly wasn't. And I certainly liked the idea of it, but I thought, I don't know how that works. I had absolutely no idea, but I was willing. And the Course talks again and again that all we need is a little willingness. And as we start to open up to asking these questions and wanting to see another way, we will be given the answer. And so I was starting to see the correlation that as different things came up for me and I started to ask these bigger questions, that the answers would come. Not immediately, but, you know, like Sarah came into my life, for example, and all these different teachers, you know, and different things started to come in. And the basic concepts of the course are that we have what they call a split mind. And what that means is that it's like we have two voices in a way. And it talks about either having what they call the ego voice or spirit or God. So ego basically is the false self, what the course calls the false self, the construct of an identity that we've built up over years. Like, i.e., I'm a woman, certain age, certain hair color, certain backgrounds, etc., etc. These identities, mother, daughter, these are all concepts that the ego makes up to form an identity of Anne-Marie. And the ego, Mr. P, basically, I'll give you a few of the things that it's massive, the ego, but it's based on fear, guilt, shame, stress, judgment, pain, suffering, blame, regret, limitation, victimhood, body identification. I think that includes illness, trying to make the body better, improve the body, has to be a certain shape, look a certain way, not good enough, etc., etc. Too old, too fat, too thin. And one of the biggest things of the ego is time. And what does that mean? It means ego has what is identified with what they call linear time, i.e. past and future. And one of the great concepts of the ego is to keep us in time, i.e. the past or the future. Now, I'm sure we can all identify with that, we go into the past, the regrets or the good old days or memories. When you said that to me, when I was a child, you name it, we've all got that story running, as well as projecting to the future, the what ifs, the hypotheticals, what's going to happen. I'm going to die one day. I've got to protect myself. I've got to look after myself. The fear, it's all based in either the past or the future. Now, a lot of the great spiritual teachers talk about the power of now. Some of you have probably heard of Eckhart Tolle. And he actually talks about the course in his book, The Power of Now. Ram Dass says, be here now. All the Buddhist philosophies, it's very much about being in the present moment, coming back to the now. So all the great spiritual teachings are saying the same thing about being present, about being here now. And ego doesn't like that. And the main reason it doesn't like that is because when we're truly present, then we can be in the vertical, which is where we can then join with our higher power, with spirit, with God. Again, whatever you choose to call it, the universe, So I like to see it as a cross in a way, because the horizontal, the timeline, we're here in the horizontal, yes, but most people spend their time just in that linear time. But when you're in the vertical as well, then that's when you can connect to your source. And that's then when you can start to be guided by this higher power, instead of it being the ego, all the ego-based things that I was telling you about. And so the opposite of the ego, and the course is very, very heavy on this subject, basically identifying when we're in the ego mind, all the things I was telling you about, or our right mind, where we're connected to source. Now that you can call God, love with a capital L, which is unconditional, spirit, again, whatever you choose to call it. But when we're in that mind, it's our true self. It is light, innocent, peaceful, joyful, abundant, happy, grace, bliss, union. So that's our joining with source when we're in the unified mind. Oneness. So again, we're not separate. We're joined with our source. And when we're in alignment with that source, we're learning to trust in it and surrender to it for our guidance. And so I hope just from that explanation, you can start to see the duality of ego versus spirit. Every time we're in ego, we're not connected, basically. And we're suffering because we're believing all this ego identity. I need to protect this body. I need to protect another person's body. Because another thing that the ego believes is that we will die, because it believes it's a body. Now, take a few breaths there, because that's quite a radical one to any of you who are new to this concept, because we are so identified with this form, this body, that it's going to get old and it's going to die. Now, the Course promises us that we are eternal, because we are spirit beyond this body. And so when we're connecting to the vertical, that is what we're connecting to the pure spirit that we are. And by its very nature, it can't die. It just can't. It's absolutely eternal. And of course, the ego can't get that concept at all, because it wants to keep us in linear time. So that's kind of one of the big premises of the Course, is actually undoing all of these concepts, undoing the ego story. And some of it can be glaringly obvious, you can see it, and some of it is very, very subtle. And so one of the big themes of the Course is forgiveness. Now, it's not the normal forgiveness that we're taught, like when you're a kid, if you take somebody's toy or you bash them on the head, your mum says to you, well, say sorry then, it's nothing to do with that at all. The forgiveness of the Course says that it's actually forgiving what never happened, because God never condemns. So God can't forgive, because we are perfect in God's eyes. We are whole, we are complete. So when we're forgiving from the Course's perspective, it's actually forgiving what we think has happened. So for example, if someone says something to me that upsets me, the old way for me was to take umbrage, or get pissed off and think, well, who are they? Or I'd push it all inside. But the Course is asking us to choose again, to see through the eyes of love, to see through the eyes of spirit. And how would God see that person? It would see that person the same as it sees me, as pure love, as innocent, as guiltless. All those things I mentioned from the right mind, if you like. So the forgiveness that we're being asked from the Course is to be able to be willing to see the truth about this person in front of us, our brother, our sister, if you like. Now, again, this is one of the, it's so radical with the course. It's just so very radical, especially when you're new to it. You know, and some people will say, well, what about Hitler? What about the rapist? What about the child abuser? They surely not them. Yes, absolutely. Because they are a child of God, the same as you and I. And this is where it can get really tricky for some people with the course, because they really struggle with that concept that this true forgiveness that the course is talking about can be for everyone. And I just wanted to, there's two particular lessons that I just wanted to, I don't want to read them, but just talk about forgiveness. So let's have a look. The thing is, forgiveness, when we really practice it, it really does offer peace and freedom. So lesson 121 is entitled, Forgiveness is the Key to Happiness. So just really take that in for a moment. Just listen, really take that in. Forgiveness is the key to happiness. No, I don't know about you, but I want to be happy. I really do. And it's saying here that if we can practice this forgiveness, we can be happy. And there's a great line in the course that I love as well. It says, you know, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? And the ego wants to be right. It wants to be the judge and the jury. It wants to prove that that person is the exception. Yeah, I can forgive them and I can forgive them, but them, no. No. I want to be right about that. And it goes on, I'm not going to read it because it's like 3 pages long. And the next lesson that comes after that is forgiveness offers everything I want. And again, that's pretty radical. And the words actually that are being spoken here, for which I haven't mentioned for those of you who don't know, are actually Jesus. It's Jesus who's speaking these words. And that was one of the blocks for me in the beginning with the course. There was a few blocks for me because some of the terminology of the course was very, as I deemed it, very similar to the Bible. And I didn't want a religion. And I used to balk at any religion. So that was one of the things that I really struggled with the course to start with, was some of the terminology. And, you know, some of the words that it uses, like the course uses like salvation, it uses Christ, it uses atonement, Holy Spirit, that kind of terminology. And I really struggled with that to start with. Or should I say, the ego part of me, because it was the ego that was not very happy. So for some people that can be a block to start with, and it was for me. For other people, I spoke to someone the other day who was brought up as a Catholic, and they even said that the words was a block for them because they kind of switched off from a lot of their religion, because it was very much based on fear and being a sinner, etc., etc. So they didn't want any association either. So there is quite a bit of dismantling that we have to do when we come to the course, because it really does bring up a lot of stuff for a lot of people. But what I found over these years is, it's taken a long time, but I have eventually gone beyond the concepts and the words to actually a feeling experience where I could feel the love, I could feel the joy, I could feel the relief that came when I actually truly forgave. And when I started to look through the eyes of love, because I wanted to be free. I wanted to be at peace more than anything. And when I met Sarah, one of the things she said to me was, and I made this my prayer, was show me the truth. And I meant every single word when I would pray every night. I didn't know quite what the truth was back then, but I thought it felt like a pretty good prayer to me. And I can honestly 100% say that the course shows me and has showed me the truth with a capital T of who I really am, beyond this body, beyond this form, beyond this identity. That the words of Jesus are, I think there are some parallels with the Bible, but this course was, as Jesus put it, was to bring the true message, his true message, that he didn't suffer for us on the cross like the Bible tries to kind of bring across, that because he knew he wasn't a body. So there could be nothing that could be killed because he knew he wasn't a body. And he knew that he was the Christ, which means a child of God. And his message was and is, through the course, to help us remember that every one of us is the Christ, a child of God. Now, the ego will be really affronted with that. It certainly was for me. It felt very arrogant to even begin to say that for me. And I think it is for many people. But it is unequivocal in its message. And that's why I love the course. It's so clear. It does not mess about in its message to say that you are that, the child of God, pure and innocent. And everybody is. And as I say, it is a journey. It's a heck of a journey to really start to understand the concepts of the course and to then live them. To start with, it's great, to kind of do the lessons every day and practice it. But there comes a point where we have to start living it every single day. And, great teacher, David Hoffmeister, who's Cindy knows. Cindy and I were in Mexico together. And the Living Miracles community there is run by a guy called David Hoffmeister. And he says that it's 99% practice and 1% theory. And, I think it's very common for some people of the course, they can give you all the quotes and, reel it all off and say, yeah, I've read it. But we've got to live it every single day and be willing to give up the concepts of who we think we are. And so the lessons I was going to mention about forgiveness is the next one, which is 122, which says, forgiveness offers everything I want. And I'm just going to read the first little bit of it. What could you want forgiveness cannot give? Do you want peace? Forgiveness offers it. Do you want happiness? A quiet mind, a certainty of purpose, and a sense of worth and beauty that transcends the world? Do you want care and safety and the warmth of sure protection always? Do you want a quietness that cannot be disturbed, a gentleness that never can be hurt, a deep, abiding comfort, and a rest so perfect it can never be upset? All this forgiveness offers you, and more. It sparkles on your eyes as you awake, and gives you joy with which to meet the day. It soothes your forehead while you sleep and rests upon your eyelids, so you see no dreams of fear and evil, malice and attack. And when you wake again, it offers you another day of happiness and peace. All this forgiveness offers you and more. And so it goes on. But isn't that rather delicious? Don't you want that? You know, it's rather tempting, isn't it? And that's just a part of the lesson. I mean, again, it's about two and a bit pages. So one of the big concepts of the course, or the practices of the course, is this forgiveness. And it's not always easy because, you know, as I said to you, the ego wants to be right. And it always wants an exception. Well, I can do it for these people and these people, but nah, not that one. But what the course is saying is actually, it's just you that then you're punishing. Because the forgiveness actually frees us. And the reason that is, and this again may be quite a step too far for some of you, but the course says that there is only one mind. We are joined in the one mind. So that when we forgive, it's in the one mind, therefore my mind. So whatever I'm perceiving out in the world, whatever I'm perceiving in you, is me. It's a part of me. And again, that's pretty tough for some of us to actually take on board. And we'll find the exceptions to that rule, because the ego wants to be right. It does not want to be happy. So it will come up with all the reasons why that isn't true. So that's what I want to say. So that's just a very, 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 very little introduction to the course. And as I say, it's very much in the practice. And what the amazing thing is about the course is that we do, with the lessons, you literally have an opportunity every single day to practice this. And there's also the text in here, which is, when you start reading it, when I first started reading it, I could barely read a couple of sentences. I just could not understand it. I just couldn't. And I used to just, I would sit there and I'd look at it and I just said, what the hell does that mean? I said, I have no idea what that means, because I just could not, my ego mind just could not take it in. But I stuck with it. And I tell you the main reason I stuck with it is because the people who were truly practicing the course, I could see everything that the course promises in them. They were happy. They were peaceful. They were forgiving. There was something about them. There was a lightness about them. And it's very, very attractive. And these were just normal people, like you and me. And I kind of thought, you know what? If that's what comes from this, I'm willing to give this a go and really dedicate myself to it. And, you know, there's been years when I've gone off track and I've gone down other pathways, and I don't regret any of that, because I needed different learning and different teachers and different philosophies. And I really believe that spirit will bring us what we need when we're ready. But a few years ago, I got such strong guidance to start the course again. It may be 4 or 5 years ago, to start the lessons again. And my sort of whole awakening has gone to another level. And again, new teachers sort of came into my awareness, and then I was ready for the next level. And spirit won't bring us anything that we're not ready for. But each time we step forward, we take the step, and then we get to the next level and we start asking other questions. That's the miracle that I see again and again. It's like the answers come, and not in the obvious ways either. And each time we take that step forward, yeah, we're gonna stumble, we're gonna have our wobbles. But what I love about the course is that it's just, as I say, it's so uncompromising that it just can bring me back again and remind me of who I really am, because I keep forgetting. And this is what the course is saying, you know, when we separated from the divine, from this vast love, it's like we fell asleep, because it was so painful to leave our true source. And that's why it's called an awakening, because we're waking up from the dream that we think we left our source, the true love that we are. And that is the only real pain that we ever experience, is the separation. And that is what the course is helping us to do, is to wake up from the illusions that we've created in our lives, the stories and the fear and the pain. And the awakening isn't always pretty. I'm sure you all know that if you're on this path, it can feel really shit as we're being dismantled, because this whole identity is being completely dismantled. And that's very painful, because we want to hold on to who we think we are. And as I said, the ego wants us to be right. And the one thing that I've really come to know more recently is to really see how the ego, they call it the I know mind. I know best. And Marie knows what's best. And I've realized I really do not know what's best for me at all. I really don't. And so what the course offers us is a bridge from this world to God. And they call it in the course, the Holy Spirit. And that is the voice that we start to hear when we practice the course. We start to get the guidance coming through, and we start to be guided by that voice and learn to trust that voice instead of the ego voice, which is the voice of doom and gloom, of fear, of judgment, etc. And eventually you can get to a point where you're just guided all the time by this voice. And we have to learn to trust that. And that takes a long time. And I'm not there 100% by any means. I'm certainly not. But I'm willing. I'm absolutely willing. And I'm sure some of you have maybe experienced hearing that voice. You know, some people call it intuition or a gut feeling or angels. You know, it's just this, it's almost like it's saying, you know, ring this person or go this way, or there's all these different things. It will guide us with everything, absolutely everything, if we're willing. So I'm aware I've spoken for an hour, which I can't actually believe. So I want to open it up if anybody has any questions, absolutely anything. Don't hold back. So you can put your hand up that way, or I think there's a digital hand you can put up. So has anybody at this point got any burning questions about anything to do with it? I can, Jane, did you?
Oh, here we go.
Hello, my love.
Hello everybody. Wow, yes, I mean, it was good to come in this evening and get the reminder, and you know, just looking at you from afar and following your heart and going to Mexico. I'm blown away by that, because we've known each other quite a few years now, and I've worked on a one-to-one with you and come on a couple of your retreats. And yeah, it resonates. It does resonate. I don't have any questions at this moment in time. I'm going to have to leave everybody because we've got a little bit of something going on with my sister-in-law and trying to get her in getting a carer for at the moment, and I can hear something going on in the background and my husband saying she's not available, so I know I need to go and sort something out. But just want to say thank you so much for sharing. It has touched me. It has touched me, and I totally get, you know, I've looked at the book and thought, what the hell? Like you say, you read 2 lines and you go, yeah, no, I have no idea. And I do get that words in books have an energy, carry an energy, whether you read Eckhart Tolle, Power of Now, once, twice, 3 times, you come to it from a completely different place than you did the first time. And you're absorbing that energy and those messages through the words. And I love that. And, you know, this, you know, and I love that you've picked out the forgiveness, because that's a tough one. So you say, yeah, I forgive you, you and you, but not you. Yeah, I get that. And when you do see through the eyes of God and the eyes of love, then we can all practice that. Because who are we to stand in judgment if he's not standing in judgment? Who are we? Then that's just putting ourselves above God. And if we are God, we can't be above, because we're at one. So thank you for putting it out there, and thank you everybody for being on the call. And yeah, I'll go away and I'll really digest it. I'm going to go for a nice bath now, and some Epsom salts, and going to digest this. So thank you, Anne-Marie. So lovely to see your lovely face again. I don't live in the area anymore, you know that. So, but hopefully we'll meet again, and go well, everybody.
Thanks, my love. Yeah.
Yeah. Good night.
Care.
Good
Lots
night.
of love. Bye-bye.
Yeah,
Thanks,
bye.
Jane. Okay, Ella. Good evening.
Hi,
sweetheart.
sorry about that. Hi.
Hiya.
Lovely to see you, Tanya. Do I know anyone else? Do I know Jane? I'm not sure. I think maybe, I don't know. I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, interestingly, so my first question, having never picked up the book ever, but I've heard you talk about it. It's very interesting because my first question that I wrote down even before you said it was, is this an alternative to the Bible? So, you know, and then you sort of talked about it, because I'm very similar to you, and we have talked about this before, in that I do also balk at sort of, because I was brought up in a very religious kind of church community. I'm afraid I went the other way, and I kind of like I kind of ran away from it really in my 20s completely. So yeah, so that's my one question, which you sort of answered in a way, but I'd be interested to hear what you say about it, if there's anything more you want to say. But the other thing is, when you were talking about, let me just find where you were saying it. You were talking about the, like Anne-Marie knows best, that bit, the I know mind. Is the opposite of that the don't know mind? What I mean by that is that the acceptance and trust that the universe will just provide? Is that the opposite of that?
Yeah, so the I know mind is ego. So obviously it's the opposite of what I was saying, you know, the love and God and spirit. And what the course is helping us to do is to undo that I know mind, which is all based on fear. So once we start to trust, it's a big thing to really completely surrender and trust in the voice of this, you know, of the Spirit, of Holy Spirit, because the training, if you like, it is mind training that the course is helping us to do, really. And what it's helping us to do is to trust that the love, the guidance from Spirit will completely, if you like, if we trust it enough, be guiding everything in our lives. And so everything, all the ego is based on the past and our past learning and our past experiences, our past abandonment, our past judgments. So we have all these filters and all these veils that and personas that we wear to protect us based on the experiences that have happened to us. And we think we know the best way based on that. And let's be honest, most of the world, that's what we're taught. So that's why this book is so radical, because it's saying we don't know anything truly, but our true self, that vertical, when we're connected to the divine, to this pure spirit. And the lesson that I mentioned to you, I am sustained by the love of God. It will guide us to everything that we need. I put that in a quote because we think we need things, you know, to keep this body alive, to protect this body, to keep it warm, etc., etc. And on the level of form, yes, but it's helping us to realize that we are not a body. We are pure spirit. And when we trust that, it's like the fear starts to diminish and we open the mind to receive the messages and the guidance from God, from source, from the bridge, if you like, which is the Holy Spirit. And then that we trust that to be in charge. So, you know, maybe you've had those moments when you just get a knowing. You just, there's something.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And it's like a voice, isn't it? It's like, it's just there. And that's what Helen received, you know, when she channeled the book. And it was Jesus. And, you know, that, again, it is radical, isn't it? You think, what is it?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because it is, because I mean, a lot of people might say it's about trusting your gut, or trusting or intuition, as you said, but maybe the acceptance is that this gut and intuition is actually you know, God speaking to you or through you. Do you know? Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what the course is helping us to do, is helping us to undo the ego voice, you know, which is there incessantly for most of us, you know, that just do this, don't do that. Who do you think you are? Look at them. Judge. And that's the ego. That's the ego every single time. The more you hand your life over to Spirit, to God, you know, the promise is that you can have a peaceful mind. I mean, truly have a peaceful mind. And as I say, I'm not there yet, but, you know, I've had many, many moments of that. And the people I do know who are fully awakened, if you like, they say it's literally like that voice of the ego is switched off. It's gone. And all they can hear is the loving voice, and the peace is just because that's natural. That's who we truly are.
Yeah. Can I ask a question? Well, so I struggle with the word God. I struggle with using it, and I know you said you had the same issue. And I've kind of like coined universe as something that I'm comfortable with at the moment. But is like pride an ego thing? So like
Yes.
is so like, say for instance, I'm quite particular about my appearance. I like to put makeup on. So I'm really interested in this because something that I should be trying to let go of, or I mean, that's the bit that's one of the things I find a bit, am I being egotistical to want to have my hair cut or paint my nails or things like that? So this is very female, I do apologize, Sean, but it's but it's like, is that something kind of, this is a bit female energy, but that is that something that, I mean, I'd like to know what your answer is to that, really.
The thing is, when you're with spirit, it wants you to be happy. So if painting your nails makes you happy, it's not going to deny that, but you get to the point where you look after the body, but you're not attached to that. So there's one of the really good questions that I ask myself all the time is, what is this for? So it really helps you to stop and think, so if I really look under the surface, what is this for? And if it's, so like I got my hair cut a couple of weeks ago. I'll wear makeup if I feel I want to wear it. But it's not because I need it. It's not because I need it to make me feel good. It's like, that's what I feel. It's okay. It's kind of okay. It's not like it's right or wrong. It's when we're doing it because to fill the void, if you like. So when you say, what is it for? Like even the phone call, what is the phone call for? Now, the course is encouraging us all the time to extend love, to be the presence of love, because that's who we are. So quite often, we'll just get on the phone and have a chat. How you doing? Yeah, right. Now I've shifted that. Now I start to go, so what is the purpose of this? And so you get to a point where the kind of the chitter chatter, the kind of the drama of the world, you have no interest in. But that's a gradual undoing, and spirit will meet you, Ella, exactly where you are, and will never ask you to do anything that doesn't feel good. And because eventually we get to a point where we realize we're not this body. This is not who Anne-Marie really is. I am pure spirit, as you are. So it's helping us to connect to that. And then when we have that, there's so much joy there that the things that we used to identify with, they just fall away. We don't have any interest in them, but it's a gradual thing. And it's not that we're giving up because it's sacrificial. No, not at all. It just falls away. It has no meaning anymore. Or it doesn't mean we don't enjoy the things in life, but there's a different purpose behind it. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
And for many of us, we're very addicted to kind of improving the body and the self-image. And again, if you look under that, what is that for? Is it because we're trying to impress someone, or we're feeling not good enough? Or so that's we can look at that, and if there's an underlying kind of fear, or what else can I say, sort of an identification that we're trying to keep up to look a certain way, then that's when we can question it. But as you start to undo that personality, if you like, of I've got to be this way, I've got to look that way, you find that you're so full that you can take or leave it. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that's interesting. Sorry.
And so, like you know, that the course talks about what they call a holy encounter. So that every encounter can be either a joining from the heart, what they call like a holy encounter. So you can meet, like you're meeting yourself, like the Christ, if you like, or I don't know if you're comfortable with that word, because I never used to be comfortable with that word, but I'm much happier now because I'm just meeting the true self. So like when I go out, I try and say to spirit, right, you know, I want a holy encounter. And that could just be a smile, but it's truly from the heart. And sometimes we put on the happy face, you know, and I'm all happy, and yeah, and you make small talk, where inside there's all this stuff churning. But when you go and you want to have a holy encounter and meet that person as they truly are, you know, like, so when I went to the hairdressers 2 or 3 weeks ago, it was somebody new. I was really guided to go and get my hair cut from this other lady. And I thought, I don't know why I'm being guided to do that, because I normally go to, this guy comes to my house normally. But you know, it was so beautiful. I'd seen this woman, she's a local, she's in the square, you know, and we had a holy encounter. All the things we were talking about, I'd never knew that she's spiritual, she does all this stuff, and we had this beautiful joining. And it's, so that's what spirit is helping us do, to have, so it's not just the trivial, yeah, where are you going on your holidays, you know, and you know, did you watch EastEnders the other night? And I'm not judging that, but you get to a point where you want to meet heart to heart, you know, soul to soul. So spirit will bring you these holy encounters, and it can be like it was with the hairdresser. And I walked out of there and I thought, oh my God, that was beautiful. Thank you, God. Because it was a beautiful encounter. And I felt we joined. And then she was asking me about my experience in Mexico. And she said, oh, can you send me the information? So I emailed her the website. You know, I don't know how spirit wants me to work, but that was a beautiful holy encounter. She may or may not then go and look into that. That's not for me to decide. But so yeah, great. Got my haircut, felt great. But it was more than a haircut. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's, as you start to practice the course more and more, it just like opens this world that it's so enriching. And you want to meet that person, like really join with them. The course talks about joining, you know, so it's not just having a bit of a chit chat, and that's cool, you know, it's not, again, judging that. So yeah, you know, but always ask the question, what is this for? I find that so helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's weird the way that it's sort of, you know, since I've been on this journey, you know, things do come into alignment. I don't know whether you just notice them more or whether they happen more. I haven't really worked that one out, but yeah, it's definitely out there if you are able to see it.
Yeah, thank
you.
Yeah, you're welcome, honey. I mean, it really does bring up a lot of questions, and you know, and it's great to start to kind of look into things and ask those questions. It's very natural when you're, you know, on the journey, especially in the earlier days. There's so many things that used to be normal, you know, and then we start to question them, don't we? And we start to look at it differently. And as Helen and Bill did, they said there's got to be another way, because they were always, you know, each other, and it wasn't peaceful. And and then it came. And this is the power of asking is so it's good to ask. Yeah, it's great. And ask what also I'd encourage you to do, you know, if you in your meditation or your prayer, I don't know what your spiritual practice is, but ask, you know, say, okay, spirit or God or Buddha or whatever, you know, I've got this question. I mean, I do it all the time. I've got my journal, my book, and I say, okay, spirit, because the course calls it Holy Spirit. And so I go, okay, HS, Holy Spirit. So this happened today, and I'm really pissed off, and I don't understand. And can you help me see this differently? Or I'm really upset about this. You know, it's really upsetting me. I want to be at peace. And I have conversations. It's like it becomes completely normal. And you know, for many people, they lock people away, hear voices, don't they? But we all, it's there for everybody, you know, and it's the voice, the true voice that we're wanting to tune into, which the course is helping us, not the ego crazy voice. And that's what we're beginning to come back to when we practice our spiritual journey, to hear the one true voice, which is available.
Yeah, I would call that a sacred pause.
Yeah, beautiful.
You know, that's what I would call that, you know, a sacred pause, pressing pause to respond, not react to things in general. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Yay. Oh, thanks, darling. Thank you.
All right.
Beautiful. Okay, anybody else? Anything you like, come on. Tanya? Even if you just want to share your love, you know, do it. Any of it, I'm happy. Still can't hear you, Tanya. Ah, there we go.
Hello.
Hi, honey. Hiya.
Hello. Nice to see friendly faces again. Yeah, so my question is, so yeah, I'm feeling more peaceful, accepting, but then there's times when I think I'm being really lazy, and then I know people are thinking, well, why hasn't she got any opinion? Hasn't she got any, doesn't she want to take responsibility? Because I'm like, no. Do you know what I mean?
I'm not sure I do, my darling. What,
you
do you mean you're not responding to things like you used to? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, that as well, but almost like when you're trusting in things, and you're not questioning, you're more peaceful, and you don't take things on board. But I know people are thinking of me, well, why isn't she having an opinion? Why is she so trusting? Do you know what I mean?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I do.
Sometimes I think, no, I should be a bit more, you know, have more of an opinion. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's very, again, natural. I certainly went through that phase where I just didn't want to join in the normal kind of, you know, chit chat and ego basically based conversations of, you know, what was going on in the world and isn't it awful, and campaign for this and change this, and you just get to the point where it's I know I found it quite uncomfortable for a while because I was so used to that, and I would just sort of sit and listen, and like you were saying, not give an opinion because I really didn't have one to give, and I didn't really want to join in, to be honest. And it was difficult because it felt like I don't know what to say anymore. Is that kind of how you're feeling? Yeah. So I think that is a natural stage, is because you're shifting, you're realizing, you know, you're choosing more to align to the truth and to love and joy and not the ego story. And what I found is that as that happened, you know, there were certain friendships, relationships that did fall away. But then the universe brought in others that were more in alignment to kind of where I was. But it doesn't have to be the case, you know, that doesn't have to be the way it is. But it, and I remember I had an example that happened with my mum quite a few years ago now. I mean, she passed 3 or 4 years ago now, but I can't remember what she was talking about. I can't remember what it was. And I just listened to her. I didn't say anything. And she looked at me and she said, well, aren't you going to say anything then? You know, she was really annoyed because I didn't join in. And honestly, I said to her, I said, Mum, I don't know what to say. I just don't know what to say to you. And she was really upset. And she got up and she stormed off and she started crying. And then I'm going into guilt thinking, oh shit, I've upset her. But then I got the voice came in and it said, just wait, give her some space, just wait, and I'll tell you when to go. And I thought, okay. And that was a big trust for me because I was still in a bit of people pleasing and I didn't want to upset people. And then I gave her some time and then I went into the room where she was. And I can't remember what I said, but it's like her whole guard dropped. And we truly joined like we'd never joined before. And it was so beautiful. And there were tears from both of us because it was like, I don't know, I can't even put it into words really, but it was such a beautiful gift for me because it showed me that, again, if you can ask that question, what is this for? Because I want to join with people from the heart, you see. And at that point, I didn't have that question in my mind, but that was what was happening, if you like. And it was like a real, beautiful encounter. And so as we change our behaviors, it can be challenging for people. But again, just kind of maybe just look under the surface of what are you then feeling? You know, are you feeling guilty or are you feeling responsible for them or whatever you've got then? That's what then you can start to give to spirit and ask to heal. Because if you're feeling uncomfortable or you're not at peace, then whatever's there, that's the thing that you can then give over to spirit and to say, well, help me to see this differently because I don't know, because you don't.
I will.
And that's when the healing can come and the miracle can come, and pray for a miracle. Ask. And we're all entitled to miracles, you know. And it, you know, and that's when you start to build this relationship with spirit and you say, look, I don't know what to do here. You know, like, so exactly what you've just said, if it's in a certain scenario with somebody, or just say, look, I don't know what to do here. And just be really honest, like you're having a conversation. You write it down or speak it in your mind and just say, I really want to be shown the truth here. I want to see it a different way. I want to heal this. And it will, I promise you, it will come. And not in ways that you would probably expect. And like that thing with my mum, I mean, I couldn't have orchestrated that myself, I can assure you. But it was a miracle. Yeah. So that's the way spirit comes in these beautiful ways that we can never imagine. So yeah, so
Thank you.
you're doing well. You're doing well.
Thank you.
Bless you. Bless you. Thank you. Hey, Sean. Can't hear you. Can you see where to unmute yourself? On mine, it's on the left, I think.
I could see it. I could see it, but my mouse stopped working temporarily.
Oh, right.
I was desperately trying to get it to work again.
Hiya, Sean. Good to see you.
Hi, good to see you, Emery, and thanks so much for doing this tonight. I haven't got any questions because I just wanted to just share the love really and say that so much of what you've said has resonated with me tonight. I haven't got any questions because I'm so ready to learn more about this. And the first thing I'm going to do is go and buy this book. And
oh, wow.
I just, you know, it was lovely to hear you talk about the moment you met Sarah earlier, because I felt a little bit emotional myself thinking about it when I first met her as well. And we touched upon this, but I can't really remember any more about it. And but I want to do more. I want to learn more about it. And tonight's going to prompt me to do that. And yeah, and so much of what some of your other people here have said as well has really resonated with me, particularly the sort of the drop in of opinions, having to be proved right in discussions and stuff like that. Yeah, that really resonates with me as well. I mean, I'm exactly the same with that now. People must think I'm a really boring sod now because I don't want to argue. I can't be bothered. Yeah, just thank you very much. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're really welcome. Yeah. Oh, I'm really delighted, you know, that you want to get the book. That's amazing. I mean, it's it will change your life. I promise you.
Well, I look forward to that. I'm ready. I'm ready for it too.
You may be pulling your hair out for a while and thinking, oh my God, why did I do this? But it's because it's, you know, it really will shift everything. But it's, as I say, spirit will join you where you are, and you know, keep in touch. You know, we're happy to keep in touch with all of you if you want to, if you look into this more or have any more questions, because we can't do this journey on our own. And that's one of the things I love about the course, is it talks about mighty companions. You meet mighty companions. And bless Cindy, I hope she'll come and speak in a minute, but a great mighty companion that we met in Mexico. She's over there in America. And when you join with other mighty companions, it's like the healing just, I can't even put it into words. And being able to express from your heart with people that just want to do the same as you, to heal and to wake up, you know. And we need our mighty companions, because it can feel, I know for me, I felt quite lonely for a while as those transitions were happening, you know, like Tanya, you were saying a bit that, you know, different conversations now. And I think there is a transition as we kind of go deeper with our awakening. We want this, and things do fall away, but it's for our healing. You know, if they fall away, it's meant. But what will come in is, wow, well, knock your socks off. That's all I can say. And you'll meet people and you'll be in experiences and you think, oh my God, I could never have dreamed of these things. I couldn't have created these things. And that's the joy when we say yes. It's just beautiful. So yeah,
It's wonderful. And to be honest, that journey has already begun.
Yeah.
You know, in meeting mighty companions like yourself and like Sarah, you know, I wouldn't be anywhere near where I am today without that. So well, thank you, God, for that. I don't balk at saying God. I'm quite happy to say that.
Cool. It's all good, isn't it? I mean, that's the beautiful thing is, you know, however you connect, and I love that, it's, you feel it, you know, and that's the main thing, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I look forward to hearing how you get on.
I'm going to be ordering it on Amazon tonight.
Go Sean, go Sean.
Thank you very much.
That's brilliant. That's wonderful. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Come on, Cindy, sock it to me. Are you going to come? Oh, she's gone.
Nope, I'm back.
Hey.
Hey.
Hello, my love.
I'm just so happy to get to join with all of you. It's always special. Anne-Marie says, well, it's an introduction. You don't need an introduction. I'm like, I always need an introduction. And I always love joining with people that I have not gotten to join with yet. Yeah, I just want to say everything you said was spot on and such a blessing. And, you know, going back to square one is, I think, just a really good practice for all of us. And it's such a blessing in this way of life. I did write in my journal, I was looking at it this morning, my journal from Mexico, and you'll remember this story. It was December 10th, and I was one of those people who had gotten to a certain point in my spiritual life, and I kind of felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, and what was necessary was for me to jump off and fly. And I was just standing there going, I don't know. And we talked about that when we first got to Mexico. But then on December 10th, I jumped off. I jumped off and flew, and I wrote in my journal in great big letters, if I ever doubt again, remember this day. Because it was one of those days where you just knew that the moment was now. It was just such a beautiful thing. And I wish I'd done it sooner, but I had the similar journey as you. I opened the book and I'm like, forgiveness? Oh, hell no. Slam that book, put it back on the, and then it was special relationships. I'm like, well, they're all special. I don't understand. Slam the book, put it back on the shelf. So I actually encountered the course back in the 80s, and I've actually owned the books since then, and had been on the Course in Miracles path for quite a few years when I veered off again. And I'm just like, it's just too hard. I don't understand. And then encountered David Hoffmeister, and I was like, well, now that makes sense. So, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, and it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. And that was just 8 months ago. So a real recent thing for me, but I just wanted to see your sweet face and meet your sweet friends and support you. And so glad to see you all. And I love your questions. I love your spirit. It's awesome. It's great. Thanks for letting me come.
Oh, thanks, honey. Lovely to see you again. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it a lot. Wow. And just Cindy saying that, what a beautiful testament to ask and then take the leap. And it feels very scary, doesn't it, sometimes? But when you do, my God, it's like, the miracles will come in, and the mighty companions and the teachers, and we do it for each other to help, wake each other up, which is, I think that's the gift with this kind of pathway. We need each other to remind us, when we forget, and we will forget. We will have days when it's just absolute shit, and we think, what the hell am I doing? And we need people to help remind us, and then we can pass it on. That's all it is, we're just, which is great. Oh, thanks, honey. Thanks for coming on. Good to see you. So Jane, would you like to share anything? I think you have to unmute yourself, darling.
Right.
There you go. We can hear you now.
I found it interesting, actually, very fascinating, because for some reason, obviously, fate, and like you say, people come into your life when the time is right. I've reached a point, through COVID, actually, I suddenly found myself very on my own, like a lot of people. Something changed, something shifted, and I suddenly thought, well, actually, I'm not on my own. I suddenly felt as though I wasn't on my own. And things have been moving slightly since then, and I've wanted something more spiritual, and I've really strongly tried to do this way of thinking for a long time. But of course, then the real human being side of me, the ego, kicks in and says no, and it's this conflict. So I've been very interested to hear about this, and I suppose I felt slightly uncomfortable. I will be very honest, slightly uncomfortable. It felt sort of not, I don't like the word cult, but it feels like it's, or felt like it's, is this real? Is it not, is it genuine? But obviously the people you've spoken to, which is why I've been sitting here keeping quiet, which is unusual for me, listening to other people, what they were saying, it feels very real, really. And I'm just wondering how it quite works once you've got the book. So did you have meetings and support, or do you just do the book yourself? And I can see that would most probably put a lot of people off. Is that?
Yeah, I think that's very natural, Jane. Oh, there's some feedback there. Let me just mute you a minute. Is the course clearly says it's an individual curriculum, So everyone's journey will be an individual curriculum as such. And if, you know, if we're called, it's like this, it's like your soul, your spirit is calling you. Just the fact you're here, there's something that's calling, whether we're aware of it or not. I certainly wasn't aware that there was this calling. All I know is I felt rubbish and I wanted to feel better. That was the only reason, you know, for me. My life was falling apart. And like Bill and Helen said, you know, there has to be another way. And this is not the way for everybody. You know, I'm certainly not going to say to anyone, you've got to do this. I would never dream of that, because it has to feel true for you, and it isn't for everyone. But yeah, and I think that's a very normal question. It's been asked and stated many times, is this a cult? And in my experience, no. I can only tell you my own journey. And I think that's very natural. The ego is always suspicious. And there's a great, oh, I can't hear you. You need to unmute yourself again.
Is it the ego coming in? That's what I'm, you know, trying to put you off. That's what I was, yeah.
And there's a brilliant line in the course that says the ego goes from suspicious to vicious. And it, oh boy, yes, it does. Because as I say, it does not want you to wake up. It does not want you to know who you are. And so I had a lot of suspicion about a lot of spiritual stuff, because I was clueless. I had no idea what any of it meant. So yeah, my ego went off. Oh yeah, suspicious, very. And it could be very vicious as well. So it's good to just to watch that, and you know, you just welcome that to come up. And I think, like I was saying, you know, if you can, I don't know what your belief is, you know, if it's God, angels, universe, I don't know, but if you can just again start to maybe build that relationship and say, look, I don't know who you are, I don't know if this is real, you know, be like you were, just be totally honest. And just because I was very indignant to start with, I was really belligerent as well, like, you know, and I'd go, well, if you're there, you know, and I would just be so like stroppy, because I said, if you're there, you know, show me, because I don't believe it. And it would come, and it will come, but you do need to ask. And so spirit doesn't care what you ask it. It wants to join with you, and it wants you to help you to learn to trust. Trust is massive, you know, it's a big part. There's a section in the manual for teachers which I absolutely love. It's called the development of trust. And there's different stages of that trust. And to start with, it feels like all hell has broken loose, because the ego is just being so threatened. So it will come back with the viciousness, with all the stories and all of the projections and the, you know, the judgments. So you can bet your bottom dollar, if there's a judgment, it's ego. Because when it's from spirit, it's peaceful. Yeah. But it's really natural to ask those questions, you know. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. It's beautiful. Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's great. It's, you know, it with the Living Miracles community where I was in Mexico, you know, David Hofmeister, he's so into transparency, and we had what they call expression sessions. So their two main guidelines is no private thoughts and no people pleasing.
Right.
So, oh boy, if you it's like, wow. I know, yeah. Wow, with a capital W.
Yeah.
It's pretty, again, very radical. It's not what we're used to, but it helps bring up all of the darkness, you know, all of the ego stuff. And so as it comes up to the surface, then we can hand it over, because if we can't see it, if we don't know it's there, how can we heal it? And so when it comes to the surface, you know, it comes from sort of from the dark. There's a bit in the course that says we have this like this circle of fear, and underneath there is all this rage and shame and guilt, you know, that we don't even know is there. It's like the iceberg, you know, you've got the tip of the iceberg that you think that's all there is, but underneath is this massive iceberg of all of this stuff that's been hidden. So the course helps us to expose this hidden stuff. And that's when it can feel quite hardcore for a while, when it starts to come up to the surface.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
And that's why we need, you know, people around us to help us through that.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, not everyone wants that, you know, some people very much do it on their own. But I think eventually they usually get to a point where they want to reach out and join with other people. And I think now with technology, it's so easy now. Yeah. So.
Yeah, indeed. Well, I was looking for a new challenge. This could be my new challenge.
This could be your new part. Well, hey. Hey. Brilliant. Well, you know, I'd encourage it 100%, you know, if it feels right. And I'd happily, you know, if there's any questions or anything, you just keep in touch, you know, it goes for everyone, because it's so important for us to keep joining in that way. Wow. Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah. So is there any sort of final questions or anything anybody else would like to ask? Or great. Well, I just want to say thank you so much. You know, it's interesting, because on this journey for me, you know, I was so shy. I was always hiding. I never wanted to be seen. I certainly couldn't speak in public. So it's taken a long time. But one of the things the course does say, you know, that we're here to pass this on, and it's different for everyone. But I'm learning to trust the guidance to help share this beautiful message, because it's absolutely changed my life beyond measure, beyond anything I could have ever done. And to build a relationship with God, the God of my understanding, to fall in love with Jesus. I mean, if you told me that even like 3 or 4 years ago, you know, God, yes, I got my head around God, you know, eventually. And I trained to be an interfaith minister. So, you know, I became a minister of God. And it's like, how the hell did that happen? You know, from not being even able to say the word God and cringe, you know. So the path, when we say yes, even though, you know, I was kicking and screaming for a while, I can assure you, it will take us on the most amazing journey. And all I know is that the love that's there for us is what I want to share. And it's my call for love, you know, as well. This is an ongoing journey for me. And so as we can share it and help others, because, you know, I truly believe, you know, that the sickness of our time, and David says this, you know, is soul sickness. It's not COVID. It's not cancer. It's not cancer. It, honestly, everything, when we heal our mind, everything else gets healed. I promise you. And that is the miracles that are promised. And I think that sounds pretty damn good to me. I love, yes, please. Yes, please.
Have some of that. Thank you.
Yeah, I love some of that. Oh, bless you. Well, I'm gonna, yeah, lots and lots of love. And,
That's you, sweetheart.
Oh,
Thank you.
go
Thank
well.
you so much. Thank you very much.
You're very, very welcome. And yeah, keep in touch.
Will, they will, definitely.
Anne-Marie,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, it was perfect. Thanks, honey.
I'll see you on Friday, Cindy.
Yes, I will see you then.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Hopefully see you again. Bye. Lots of love.
See you again, Tanya. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.